I don't remember what year it was. I think it was probably 2014. And I was at lunch with my wife. Back then she was my girlfriend, and I remember saying to her, like, I was talking about human proof or something, and I was like, yeah, I had another business idea today. I think a really cool business would be like, I know how to buy a website off Empire Flippers and grow it, but I don't have like $30,000 spare. But other people have $30,000 spare, but they don't know how to grow a website. So wouldn't it be really cool if I could partner with people like that? And she was like, oh, kind of like real estate or stockbroker, that kind of thing. And I was like, yeah, you should do my marketing. I was like, yeah, exactly. But the problem is I'm just some dude in Taiwan, like, I barely full time in my own business, and like I don't have a track record or a team or authority or any of those things that you need. But maybe one day I will. And then, that was the end of that idea. And then 2018, I did a deep dive survey to the human proof design audience, which is from the Ask method by Ryan Levesque. And basically, I was just surveying the audience, and I was asking them what their biggest problems were. And one or two people mentioned they had money to buy websites, like big websites, not like done for you ones, but they didn't know where to buy them or what to do with them once they bought them. Like I think 3 or 4 people mentioned it out of a couple hundred, and I was like, that's actually high enough to continue this conversation. So I emailed a few people and was like, so do you think a course on website investing would be good, or do you think a service? And some of them were like, yeah, a course would be good. Some were like, a service would be good. And then, so I actually built a course, and while promoting the course, even more people were like, a service would be good. And I was like, I know, I'm just trying to promote the course first. And then I was like, wait a second, I had this idea before, like 4 years ago. But now I am an authority. I do have a track record. I do have experience. I do have a team. Interesting. And I also think the market now is more mature. There's better websites for sale. Like, no offense to the Empire Flippers sites in 2014, but the ones for sale now are way better. They're a lot bigger. There are sites on the market right now like $5 million, $2 million, $800,000 that are like still just content websites. And there's more serious money moving in, but there's still a lack of like professional sort of managers. There's more and more people coming to the same conclusions that I'm coming to, and the more I talk about it, the more other people will enter the space. So, if they haven't built a service business before, good luck learning how to do that. But yeah, so I just kind of felt like I got the validation. I realized like I had all the answers this time, whereas I didn't 4 or 5 years ago. And I just started talking about it a little bit, and people were like, yeah, I've been looking for this kind of business for a long time. So suddenly, like, we've got like 30 sites that we're running, and it's like, oh, okay, I guess this is a good idea. So that's kind of, it's like, for me, it's a great story, but for a beginner listening to this, or someone who's trying to find their way, they might be like, well, yeah, that's great for you because you already had an audience and you already, you were able to leverage your network and so on. And like, yeah, I can't really deny that. So I think it's just a case of understanding maybe your market and looking for a gap or a need. And I think that is why I keep falling into service businesses, because I keep seeing these needs out there and not being afraid to run a service to fulfill that need. And I guess my advice to anyone who is a beginner like that would be to just, the more experience you get in your niche, the sooner you'll be in that kind of situation that I was in. Because it is just a kind of case of like, what do they say? Like, you have to work for 10,000 hours to get overnight success or something like that. And I don't know if Onfolio will be classed as an overnight success, but it definitely feels like a case of it's very easy right now because of what I've done before. So, people just have to do that before bit to get to this kind of position.
Right. Interesting. Well, and I mean, you started with no audience and no credibility, and you built it over time. So yeah, like you said, it's a 8-year overnight success or something like that. But when you look at it, though, it's really Onfolio is a bit of an extension. Another service business. It's not like you've switched business models completely. It's just like higher stakes, higher investment value, but it's the same concepts overall. So very cool. Very cool.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So from a services that Onfolio provides, so can you kind of outline what the process is? Like if someone's interested in investing, maybe it's like a private investment group, maybe a family trust or something like that. Like what happens?
Yeah, so we've got 3 services really. Well, we've got 3, but we've got 2 because no one's ever used one of them. So someone suggested it to me, and I was like, "Yeah, that's a good idea," and no one's ever gone for it. So one service is actually kind of we partner with people who already have sites, and whether they built that site from scratch or they bought it, we partner up, and generally people come to us for 2 reasons. Like one is because they just don't know how to grow the site anymore, or they don't have the capacity. Like maybe they have a full-time job. They're like, I know what I need to do to get this to the next stage, but I don't have the time. Others just don't know what they need to do. Or it's people that just don't have the bandwidth or the desire to run their sites anymore. Like we run a couple of sites for Ace Chapman, he has a huge portfolio of sites, and he's just like, okay, can you guys just run these 4 for us? And then there's like those people. Those sites, we don't just take like smaller sites, because it's not really worth our time, and we want the site to be established, so that we can turn the dials and make stuff happen. And then the other service is similar, but it's like someone has money, they want to get started, but they don't know how to run a site. So they'll buy the site and we'll run it for them, and we'll help them find the site. We'll do the due diligence. We'll hop on a call with the seller and do all of that stuff. And then they own the asset, but we'll, in exchange for a management fee and a share of anything we can grow, we will run the site for them. And again, for that one, like we have a minimum, which is $50,000, because anything below that, there's not really enough profit in the site for us to make for us to take a management fee, and then for there to be a budget for growing the site and the investor to get ROI. So like the bigger the amount of money, the bigger it is for everyone. The other service which no one uses is just like something kind of in between. It's like you want to buy a site and you want to run it yourself, but you don't want to buy a scam. We'll just do the due diligence for you. But okay. No one's interested. They either want us to run it or they're fine. Okay. And then one thing we are looking at doing is kind of a group buy type thing, where it's like we really want to move up the food chain, because when you buy a site that is, say, 500K, it's got way more profit in its P&L. Generally, it has a team already, like VAs and everything included. Content costs are already included usually. So it's got the growth budget like baked in. And also it's a much higher quality site, and we can run fewer of them. Like we could run 500K sites and make a very nice management fee to be worth our time and grow those sites, but we don't need to hire we don't need to buy 50 sites to pay for our overheads, because 50 sites, you can't really focus on them. So what we're thinking of doing is like maybe someone only has 30K, or someone has 100K, but they don't want to just buy one single site with it. So we'll probably what we're thinking about doing is like every quarter, basically pooling people's money together in like a JV, and then, setting it up as like a legal entity, and just buying like one site with it. And so that's more like a kind of like a real estate investment type thing, like the way that works. And then we'll just run it and predetermine whether we're going to do it for cash flow or like sell it in 2 years or something like that. So that's the service which has attracted the most attention. I thought it would be the partnership, but generally people that already have sites, they're less willing to give away some of the share, which is understandable. Whereas other people are like, yeah, I have money, I just want to invest, and I don't want to buy a site and have it go to zero.
Right.
So so that's the area that we're most excited about and where we can offer the most value as well.
Gotcha.